Hello, everyone. We're happy to have Mudit here with us today. Mudit, thank you so much for joining. How's it going?
Good. Thank you for having me over.
My first question, can you tell us a bit about your background?
For sure. My name is Mudit. I've been in the crypto space for about 7, 8 years now. I started out as a blockchain developer. I did my computer science engineering and then got into software. And I started investing in digital assets, and that's actually how I got into the entire blockchain space. And it got me curious to think about what the underpinning technology is. And yeah, the technologist in me decided to sort of try out the tech, and yeah, I started building out various on various blockchain infrastructures and different protocols. Worked with a lot of different use cases. Made a bit of blockchain Web3 consulting and services with a lot of clients. And yeah, finally, I founded a company which is called Drife. Drife is a decentralized ride-hailing platform. So it's like Uber built on blockchain, and that's how I got into the blockchain Web3 and the blockchain startup space.
That's amazing. We often hear about blockchain's potential to revolutionize industries. And can you share a real-world scenario beyond cryptocurrencies where blockchain could bring significant positive change and explain how it will impact people's life?
Yeah, for sure. So, I mean, I think one of the biggest use cases, and that's correct actually. Like blockchain has been limited to like cryptocurrencies, and it's become sort of synonymous with that. So I think you need real world use cases, and a brilliant use case for that would be something like Drive and what we're trying to build with Drive. Trying to build something that actually the lives of driver partners, of people who want to move from point A to point B. And in fact, there is a quote from Vitalik, the Ethereum creator, and I have it framed and put up in my office room. It basically from the time when he actually came up with Ethereum. So it says that whereas most technologies sort of tend to automate the workers on the periphery and side doing small tasks, blockchain actually automates away and automates the entire center of it, and not the external peripheral things. So instead of putting, and this is what he said, quote unquote, instead of putting taxi drivers out of the job, blockchain puts Uber out of the job and lets the taxi drivers deal and work with the customers directly. So I think that's effectively how blockchain can come and revolutionize tech. It's not like AI which will take away your jobs. It is something which can actually give you a better livelihood, give you a better job, and which is what we are trying to do at Drive and my other ventures. So trying to and the mission of Drive has always been changing lives one ride at a time. So we want to bring back the power to the driver community, to the user community, and so I think that is use cases like these and real world scenarios like these will actually bring blockchain to the masses and will bring a positive shift in the blockchain adoption and how they revolutionize everything.
Yeah, that makes sense. And what are some barriers or challenges that could slow down the mass adoption of blockchain technology? And what are some potential solutions?
So I think there are a lot of barriers that I see. The biggest, of course, is the entire infrastructure and technical barrier, wherein a lot of blockchains, they do not give you very high throughputs. They're not very scalable, so there are scalability challenges. And the entire cap theorem, if you know about the technicalities. But yeah, I'm not getting into that. Throughput, scalability, privacy, security, these are issues on the infrastructure and technical side, which makes blockchain not so easily adoption friendly. Second, I think, is majorly with the user experience. I mean, the entire user experience of using a blockchain and cryptos and dApps is very complicated, especially with crypto wallets where you have to store the seed phrase and the private keys and all of that. It becomes very challenging for the regular traditional Web 2 sort of users, and beyond the difficulty of use, it's very costly to do stuff on the blockchain, right? Of course, it's getting cheaper by the day, but it's not as cheap as doing something on PayPal or things like that, right? So that's second. I think the third challenge would probably be the entire situation around and the ambiguity around the regulative and the legislative side. So like blockchain and crypto does not go very well with like governments, and we always see them always in some state of conflict, right? Especially with financial institutions. I think SEC is now taking down Binance and is now looking to crack down Kraken. I was just reading up on the news. So these organizations tend to always have some conflict with like Web3 tech and Web3 revolutions. I think more clarity there would help, and the kind of ambiguity that surrounds that causes a lot of people to just run away from blockchain. So that's one. I think one more is the fact that there's a lot of lack of interoperability. Like you've got all of these different blockchains. You've got Ethereum, you've got Solana, you've got you've got Tezos, you've got EOS, you've got so many layer 1 and layer 2 protocols, and there's no good standard, like there's no standardized way of doing things, and people are just fragmented across these different blockchain protocols. So like I'm living on Ethereum, you're living on Polygon, someone else is on something, and so I think this is another thing which causes just difficulty in adoption. So I mean, by the time I learn Ethereum, there is this new blockchain that has come up and everyone's moving on to that and everyone's using that, so I'm again left out. So I think that's another issue. And I think finally the entire slight blemish that you see with blockchains being associated with illicit activities, your drugs and trafficking, human trafficking. So I think that's got a bit of slight negative association with blockchain, which deters a lot of people to actually take to blockchain, and yeah. So I think these are some barriers that exist, and some solutions, of course, would be improving the user experience. So like having apps on your mobile phone that can run blockchain, that can support blockchain applications. For example, Drife is a great example again, right? So such things can make blockchain easily adoptable for the masses. And I think a simple user experience which abstracts away a lot of like tech, the core tech of blockchain, the wallets and all of that. So I think that would be super helpful, and account abstraction and stuff are things on that direction. Plus, on the technical and infrastructure side, I think as the space progresses, you've got more layer 2s coming up, roll-ups, and ZK roll-ups and optimistic roll-ups, and just like plasma technology. So a lot of these things are coming up. Scaling solutions are coming up. I think this will make the infrastructure more scalable and provide higher throughput. Plus, we need a lot of like regulative bodies talking to governments on behalf of like the larger Web3 community, and take the mission of Web3 forward. So that'll really help in making Web3 not so dark and crypto focused, make it more appealing. I think these are some things that will definitely help in making the adoption better.
Smart contracts are often mentioned as a key feature of blockchain. Can you give a simple example of how a smart contract could automate a process and eliminate the need for intermediaries?
For sure. So I mean, smart contracts at the end of the day are just like the programmable, self-executing piece of software code that live on a blockchain. That's it. And they just meant to dictate the terms of agreement between the parties that are involved in that smart contract. Very much like real world contracts, but encapsulated in a code which is binding in terms of like cryptographically binding, and is deployed on a blockchain. So I think that's what a smart contract is. And it is definitely a key feature because in the context of blockchains, they tend to increase the ability of blockchain, right? So they just extend how a blockchain can provide trustlessness and trustless program execution on chain, like how parties can trustlessly, without knowing one another, deal with one another on a distributed ledger, on a public forum. So I think that is one big advantage they bring in. And I think simple examples would be, I use this example quite a bit, is like, imagine in the future when you've got, homes that are all locked with digital locks and not with, locks and keys. So with digital locks, you've got digital passphrases and digital keys that can let you enter. Of course, you see a lot of like NFC enabled cards and all of that, which are similar in that direction. So instead of having a rent agreement that is created and notarized by a notary and by some government organization, you can have a rent agreement that is put on chain. So for example, as the landlord, you can say, okay, this is my house, this is the key, and per month you're going to pay me, let's say a couple of $1,000 to use a flat, and as the contract can act as an escrow, so it can keep the keys and it can keep the money till either of those are there and both of them are not there. So for example, if I'm the tenant and if I give you the money, then you might run away with the money, right, and not give me the keys of the house. But if I give it to a smart contract, the smart contract will hold it till the time you actually give it the keys, and then it can sort of swap those two together, like the keys and the money, the rent. I think these are use cases, like real world use cases, where smart contracts can come primarily as an escrow, but do a lot of other things on chain. So yeah, these are some use cases.
And what are some of the limitations or risks associated with smart contracts, and how can they be mitigated?
Yeah, so I think biggest are like smart contracts are prone to exploitations, like if not well audited, if not thoroughly tested, they can have some backdoor traps, they can have some honeypots. They can have some, bugs that can be potentially exploited by malicious actors, by hackers. So I think that's one of the biggest challenges and issues with smart contracts. So I think how you can solve that is very simple. You have to make sure that the thoroughly tested, that you're following some good standards. You're using libraries like OpenZeppelin and stuff, which are already audited, and not writing everything from scratch. That's a good way of doing it. Plus, testing it thoroughly using frameworks like Foundry or Hard Hat. And getting an audit is paramount. Getting a good audit from a good agency, I think, is very important. And having some monitoring and things in place, having some feedback loops in place. So I think a lot of things you can do to make that better.
Can you discuss the potential impact of blockchain on financial inclusion, especially in regions with limited access to traditional banking services?
I think the entire narrative that blockchain and Bitcoin and all of these have had is being the bank to the unbanked, right? That's always been the narrative, that we can become the decentralized banks for where banks do not exist or banks cannot reach. So yes, especially with DeFi, I think that's just gone to a next level where people can take loans on chain, can do a lot of like value transfer without having to have the infrastructure of physical brick and mortar bank or the technology of a digital bank. All you need is just like an internet connection, and that's it. You're good to go, right? So I think that's where blockchain can come in and really improve financial inclusion, especially in third world countries and countries where just the financial systems have not evolved as much as they have in more developed countries. So yeah.
What are some common misconceptions or misunderstandings about blockchain technology that you frequently encounter, and how do you address them?
Yeah, I think the biggest is blockchain is same as crypto. Like that's, I think, the biggest one that I come across. There's no difference between blockchain and crypto, which I think is definitely not true. Like, or a corollary of this is the only use case of blockchain is your magic internet money or your crypto. So I think these are definitely the biggest. Beyond that, another one that I hear quite a lot, a common misconception is blockchain is only, or crypto is only used for illicit activities. Like that's something I hear a lot as well. Yeah, one more thing, it's a misconception and it's also an apprehension that people have, that blockchain is only meant for like the technically sound people or people who are adept with technology. It's not meant for like the masses, which is somewhat true. I wouldn't say it's completely false, but it's something that people like us, we are trying to make that better. We are trying to improve that, and we are trying to bring blockchain to the masses, and we are trying to make the entire blockchain experience not so difficult and rigorous, and make it more pleasing and easy, right? So I think that's one more thing. And a lot of people who are technically strong, from them I've heard this one thing, which again is very wrong, which is that blockchains are just like over glorified Excels. They're just like a database, an over glorified database or a data sharing software, right? That's it. Which is definitely not true. Like it's got a lot of aspects to it. It's got an entire network that it runs on. It's got a consensus. It's got many other things which make it what it is. It's not just a Google sheet that is used by 10 other people. It's not that, right? It's much more than that. And I think one more thing is a lot of people now. So this is a myth that I see with a lot of people who are very fanatic about blockchain. People who say blockchain all the time. A lot of those people say that if you put something on blockchain, it becomes immutable. It becomes completely tamper-proof. That's not true. I mean, it depends on how strong the network of the blockchain is. I mean, if you've got a blockchain that is not widely adopted, that's not true. You could have a fork, you could have a 51% attack, you could have a lot of malicious attacks that can actually rewrite the things that are on chain. And yeah, I mean, immutability is not a direct outcome of blockchain. Plus, tamper resistant is also not a direct outcome. Yes, you may call it tamper evident. Whenever you tamper it, it becomes evident that you've tampered it. But that's not something which is right out of the box available. So that's something that has to be built onto a blockchain. Plus, how you write on a blockchain, if that portion itself is screwed up, right? The data that is there, it's not always right. I mean, so a lot of people feel that if it's there, whatever is there on the blockchain is 100% truth, like that's complete truth. That's not true. You could put incorrect data on the blockchain and then it's not true, like, right? So you have to make sure that the point where the data is coming onto the blockchain is also verified. And then yes, whatever you have on chain is true. So I think these are other certain myths that a lot of people who are naive in the blockchain space, but very fanatic about blockchain space, keep mistaking. So I think, these are probably some misconceptions and myths.
All right, Mudit, I have a last question for you for today. Looking into the future, what are some exciting possibilities that blockchain could unlock even beyond what we currently can imagine? And what are you doing and building in that regard?
Thank you. So I think the entire space now has evolved so much that the future, of course, is very exciting, and it's very real. It's no more your DeFi, AMM swaps, and DeFi protocol, on-chain lending and borrowing, on-chain bridges. I think we are moving beyond that, and especially with like real-world assets and real-world applications. I think RWAs are the biggest, the biggest thing that can happen to blockchain, and it's happening right now. And in just a couple of probably couple of months or couple of years at the best, you will see a lot of real-world assets tokenized and brought on-chain, right? And when that happens, that'll be what will bring blockchain to the masses. That'll be what drives blockchain adoption, and that'll be what unlocks tremendous possibilities with what distributed ledger technologies and blockchains and cryptos, digital assets could potentially do. So I think that's one. And yeah, I mean, in terms of what I'm doing, I'm working on Drife is something that I've worked on in the past a bit. And beyond that, now I've founded another company and I'm working on that. It's called Dex Auction. It's basically a decentralized auction protocol. So it lets you conduct a wide variety of auctions for tokenized real world assets, your real estate, your financial instruments, securities, debentures, bonds, your commodities, precious metals, gold, silver, precious stones, diamonds. And it lets you do platinum, of course, one of those. And beyond that, like, expensive art, collectibles, and beyond, like, your CryptoKitty collectibles and digital JPEGs collectibles, like real world art, tokenized and fractionalized. So I think conducting an auction for these for better price discovery is something that we are working on to help bring these real world assets as tokenized digital entities on chain, as tokenized assets on chain, which can be traded and exchanged with a better price discovery, with better price formation, is what we are trying to build and what I'm trying to do at the moment.
All right. Thank you, Mudit, for this discussion. It was really amazing. And guys, for those who wants to connect further with our speaker, you'll find Mudit's contact information right in the video description. That's it.
Thank you, Adya. Thank you for this.